we were working on a feat called Puddle jumping in ROE plus, and Juggernaut, my friend the tank, is going to talk with us about some of the mechanics that he was going through and us working on this feat together. Jugs, welcome, thank you. All right, let's get into it. So this feat, it took us a few hours of practice. Let's give some people some tips.
So to confirm, it did take just slightly under 3 hours to kind of like learn the mechanics, practice, and make sure that we got it down. The large majority of this feat solely relies on the tank's ability to place the puddles in places that won't interfere with his teammates' positioning, as well as making sure that Black Alice doesn't walk back through them herself. Both of those will negate defeat, and the puddles are only laid on you as the tank. Like I said, the vast majority of this feat relies on your ability to control the mechanics that are happening.
And the rest of the feat kind of feels like it's up to team communication and the DPSs to be able to block and burn the globe at the required points.
Yeah, so there's only probably two big things that Black Alice will do that require blocking from everyone. So she will absorb either Shazam's powers or Faust's powers. Shazam's are the powers that you need to worry about a little bit more. So there's an audio cue when she takes Shazam's powers, but as far as a visual cue, she will get like, I think it's roughly 3 golden floating lightning bolts on her. And when she does her goal attack while imbued with the powers of Shazam, she will kill anybody who is not blocking. The only other portion that requires blocking for sure, at least by the tank, is the Orb of Power, I believe is what it's called. And so those spawn as soon as she gets to 50% health. One spawns and immediately goes into a skull attack that everyone has to block. I think the magic attack also, where you'll need to keep running if she looks at you and does like the Circe's magic, which showed up in CTE. But basically, it's just magic that follows you around, so you have to keep blocking. You can't stop moving. She just looks at you and then puts a beam, very similar to like fires absorb heat or something. So you can see a yellow beam come from her, and then start following you.
Something else that I wanted to go ahead and talk about was the placement of the players around the circle in the center of that room.
Sure. So around the circle, there's a circle you can see in the middle of the players want to stay close to that, but they want to stay spread out enough that when she places lightning on you, because one player at a time will get a lightning bolt above their head, and if you go too close to somebody, you will kill them. This can also chain, and you can kill multiple people. So you want to stay spread out enough where that doesn't happen, but you don't want to be too far to the outside. And the reason for that is the entire premise of this feat is not stepping in the puddles that are being laid on the tank. So as the tank, we employed a triangle kind of mechanism. So we have the 2 front corners of the room where you enter, the left and right corners, and then what I call the alcove at the back of the room, if you're looking at it from the entrance to where the stairs are. So that place, that portion of the room actually narrows a good bit compared to the rest of the room. And so that's why I would just be communicative and let people know when I was going back there. The entire goal of the tank is you cannot stop moving, because as soon as you do, she's probably going to lay a puddle, and you only have a half a second or so to get out of it. So you'll see throughout the video, I basically don't stop moving and stand still the entire time. You want to do your best not to put anyone of your teammates in between you and the boss while you're running around as well, because that will obviously kill them. So
there's something else I wanted to point out, and that's made spread out is because she'll put boxes around individual players, and when you break out of the box, if anybody's standing close to you, it's going to kill them.
That's correct.
I believe there's a mechanic where if you get locked in the box and you stay in it, you avoid the globe's blast. So sometimes we had people not break out of the boxes for a moment for that.
Yeah, that also works with the magic. So if you're being attacked by the magic while the globe is performing its skull attack, you also do not have to block. So this is a loadout that I don't use very often. This is what I would call a lazy tanking loadout, especially for Rage in particular, because I don't actually use the cancel just because I have to keep moving. So you'll see in the video, I use just the crash mitigator, which lessens the damage by roughly 50%. And I run 3 shields instead of trying to run the cancel for the damage. Obviously, you can see the loadout on the screen, but I can show how I'm spec'd and what artifacts and allies I'm using as well. Probably second hardest part of this entire feat is starting the boss fight as a tank, because there's a 50-50 shot that she will either do pulse beam or solar flare, and that will one-shot you, even as a tank. So to mitigate that, I guess during this run, I learned starting the fight with your target lock red, but immediately after using one of your powers or a few powers that I clipped together, rolling into the gray target lock area, and then I died much less often. Because even some of my teammates, like the troll or one of the DPSs, would lunge her. Going into the gray was more reliable, I would say, than trying to lunge her.
I'm going to take a moment to thank anybody that might be watching this for their time. And if you find this video helpful, I'm going to go ahead and ask you to like and subscribe to the channel. Thanks.
So I will note, if you look at my loadout, I do focus, at least for my utility belt, heavily on the damage. The tank doing the damage or helping do damage is very beneficial to the group in their burn.
Yeah, so, because that means less mechanics.
Yes, you can burn her through mechanic phases. Alice hits really hard, so I just try to stay as far away from her as possible. So if she goes to one of the corners, I go to the opposite corner and just make sure that I keep pulling her and, lunging her when I can.
And then away from the puddle.
And then away from the puddle. So you'll notice I don't stop moving to make sure that I don't get caught in that puddle. She does give an audio cue that says, "I don't like you." And when she gets to the U of that sentence is typically when she drops her puddle. And so you'll see me in the corners and hugging the walls the whole time, just trying to wait for that cue for the so there's a glitch sometimes where 2 puddles will spawn, and there's also a glitch sometimes where no puddles spawn.
Are you watching anything in particular as this is happening?
I'm just watching where my teammates are. So like you can see you in this corner. I wish you would have moved over like left or right a little bit, but you were like dead center in the corner. And so I always tried to maneuver around you. I want to put you between the boss and myself. You have to pay attention to if the magic and then the onks, those will also kill you as the tank. You saw that red circle on the ground.
Yeah.
Lazarus Pit is almost a must-have in my opinion, especially for going for some of these feats. You'll notice I jump over the whole team a lot to get to the corners, so I don't like run around them. But basically, the ball came out. So one of the big things as the tank is you are going to have to decide if the ball comes out and a puddle is being laid, you will likely die because you won't be able to block, or that puddle will be laid on you, so you cannot block. So you have to keep running, and you notice I died, and then with Lazarus Pit, that's why I can just get up, and it didn't really affect the rest of the team.
And I will say that in this run, pickups were having to be timed because you have boxes and globes and her magic and ox, right? So you couldn't just rush over to a teammate to pick them up.
So you have to be very careful about that. 100%. Oh, I think something else to highlight for a feat like this, you notice I have my combat log up. You asked me previously, what am I paying attention to? And my combat log is one of those. So anytime she laid a puddle, I wanted to immediately check and see if I was damaged by it or not.
I had been sleeping on using my combat log for that. I primarily used my combat log for breaking environmentals to see what they were called, so that way I could decorate with them.
Completely opposite use.
And parsing,
Yeah, of course. Also, don't sleep on the zombies. So the zombies hit hard, and they mitigate 25% of your damage. So you can transfer 25% of your damage to the zombies, which is pretty cool. Once we get her to below 50%, and the only thing I need to worry about is the globe of power. And so I think in our run, it'll be dependent on your burn. You want the globe to do one skull attack, because I don't know if you can prevent it entirely. And then you want to have it dead before it performs its second skull attack. And then with your burn, I think the most that you would want is 2. I think we had 2 globes before we completed the feat. And so that is optimal, in my opinion, because I will tell you, I am solely reliant, for the most part, on somebody calling out that the globe is out and I need to block, because worrying about the puddle and where Alice is, I just don't have time to figure out when and if the globe is going to explode.
Right.
Get that bonus feat, Unchained Lightning, which means we were spread out enough where nobody who was marked with lightning ran into or killed anybody else.